Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about chapters 8 to 11 today, which will bring us to the end of part 1 of The Way of Kings. And if you're new here, my channel, I basically read through the book, and as I'm reading, I summarize the chapters that I have just read, and I give my thoughts and my opinions, my predictions about what's going to happen next. So let's get right into it. I tried recording last night, but I had worked all day doing physical labor, and I was so tired I did not realize that the entire video was out of focus until after I finished and I looked at it. So I'm doing it again today, so hopefully we have a better go at it this time. So to start off with is chapter 8, and at the end of the last video, chapter 7, I had said my prediction was that Jasnah was going to be mad at Shallan for talking to Brother Kabsal. I was completely wrong about that. So Jasnah was just mad at her for just continuing and being persistent about trying to become her ward. So she's just mad at seeing her. And Jasnah tells her to go away, leave me alone, stop trying. So Shallan goes off to a corner and is like sulking and kind of wallowing in her thoughts, being miserable. And then a servant comes back and tells Shallan that Jasnah wants to speak to her again, and Shallan is like, why? Like, I thought she didn't want to see me anymore. So she goes back to Jasnah, and Jasnah basically apologizes for being so harsh and says she'll give her another chance, but she wants her to become more educated and take some time to study and come back to her and present herself again. And Shallan she's happy but not really, because she knows she's been given another chance, but she knows this is going to take her years to get to the point that Jasnah wants her at. And the whole reason she's doing it is because her family is going to become destitute, so she needs basically to become her ward right now to save her family from becoming bankrupt, basically. So then Shallan goes and gets books that are based off of Jasnah's suggestions of what to read. And while she's there's a fun little scene. Yalb comes in and they kind of swindle the merchant so that Shallan can get a good deal on the books. And then Shallan goes back to the conclave into the Vale, where she goes into an alcove to study. And she purposely goes to the one right next to Jasnah so she can listen to her and spy on her, basically. Like, she doesn't want Jasnah to know that she's there, but Jasnah knows she's there, and she's like, just come over here. Like, I can see you're not going to give up, so she ends up deciding to keep her around. So I don't really have a prediction. Well, I guess it's kind of like a prediction. Like, the next time we see Shallan, I think it's just going to be about her starting to become her ward and be underneath Jasnah and learning from her. Oh, and also that she's going to get into making a plan to steal the Soulcaster. So then we move to chapter 9, which goes back to Kaladin. And this is just a very sad, depressing chapter. It's more of his time with Bridge 4. Constantly people are dying. He sees a young boy that looks like someone he knew from his past. He calls him Tien. And it's not said who he is, but I'm assuming it's someone very important and close to him that probably died. And it's very sad. Syl, the little Windspren, says she's going to leave Kaladin, and he starts to cry for the first time in 8 months, it says, and that's how the chapter ends. So again, I don't really have any predictions. It's just he's not having a good time, and it's just he's having a very awful time at Bridge 4, and it seems to be never ending. And then chapter 10 is still Kaladin, but it goes into his past. It is 9 years ago when he is 10, and he is with a surgeon, and the surgeon ends up being his father. And his father is giving surgery to a girl. She messed up her hand, and they actually have to amputate the middle finger, I believe. Him and his dad kind of get into talking about being a surgeon versus being a soldier, the good and bad of each one. and he's saying that Kaladin is really smart, and he's hoping that in the future, when he's old enough, Kaladin will go to Kharbranth to learn from the masters to become a surgeon. And in this chapter, I was thinking, oh no, is Kaladin going to end up being like Kvothe from The Name of the Wind, where he's just perfect at everything and can master everything without very much difficulty? And my other predictions were that his dad probably dies, because that's Kaladin, and that maybe eventually in the book Kaladin will become a healer. And then chapter 11 goes to Kaladin in the present day, and he is going to the Honor Chasm because he wants to commit suicide because he's had enough. And on the way he meets up with Gaz, who basically says, yeah, go ahead, but take off your clothes before you do it so I don't have to go down and grab them after. And also at the time his money is out because there's a high storm happening, and he's infusing them with the high storm energy, I guess. So that's how the money is made. It's not really super in-depth of what goes on, so that will be interesting to learn about in the future. So he's sticking his foot out in the chasm he's about to go over, and Syl reappears. She has one of the Blackbane leaves that were poisonous that he crumbled up in the couple chapters ago. She brings it back because she says she's hoping that it will make him happy again. She's saying that ever since he lost those leaves, his life just seemed to go downhill. And she goes on to persuade him and coax him into continuing to try and helping people. And their conversation ends up giving Kaladin another perspective on life. He says that he's not the same Kaladin as he was in the past, but he's going to try again. And he goes back to Gaz and basically assaults him and beats him up and bribes him and says, I'm going to become the next bridge leader because the current one died anyways. So he says, I'm going to be the next bridge leader. And Gaz says, okay. And Kaladin goes back to the Bridge 4, and he goes around and he talks to every single person that's in Bridge 4 and gets their names. And the chapter ends with him basically saying that he's going to start caring and trying to make these people's lives the best that he can. And that's the end of part 1. And I think I'm going to continue reading this. I had said in my last video that I had gotten Mistborn, but the last Mistborn book, The Hero of Ages, and that I was going to switch to that because they're both from the library and I need to finish them before the due date. But I think I'm going to keep reading The Way of Kings because I'm super invested right now. I need to know what happens. And my reading amount has also picked up, I think partly because I'm doing these videos. I'm excited to read and share, and just it's new, so it's exciting. So I'm reading a lot more than I have been in the past. So that's pretty much it. As far as predictions for the future, I looked ahead, and the next chapter before the part 2 is an interlude. So there's 3 chapters on 3 different characters, and 2 of them we haven't been introduced to yet. There was Seth or Zeth that was in one of the first chapters. I believe he was the assassin. So there's that, and then we get back into Shallan and Kaladin, I'm assuming. So for Shallan, she's going to be underneath Jasnah and learning from her and trying to figure out a way to get Jasnah's Soulcaster. And with Kaladin, he's going to transform Bridge 4. Right now it's the worst bridge. If bridgemen do something terrible, they get sent to Bridge 4 as punishment. So I see Kaladin with this new perspective. He's going to turn Bridge 4 around and actually help the army do better and defeat the Parshmen. I forget if it's Parshmen or Parshendi because I know they're different. But yeah, I'm going to keep reading this, and there will be more videos to come. So don't forget to subscribe so you can see when the next video comes out. And thank you for watching.